Welcome to another episode of the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network show. This is the flagship podcast of the network. Why? Because this is the podcast show that isn't Sly, isn't Arnold, isn't Bruce Willis. Who else am I? Isn't Jean-Claude Van Damme or James Bond? We cover Chuck Norris. We cover Burt Reynolds, and I have with me today Jared. I'm sorry. First, I have Jared with me today, and then Jared, I want to first welcome you and also apologize. You've been sucked down the Burt Reynolds rabbit hole with me.
You know what, Ryan? It's an honor to be on the only Burt Reynolds podcast focusing on these films done by two people who have only a marginal knowledge of Burt Reynolds. And we can claim that because it's absolutely true.
It's funny. You listen to my Rocky podcast.
Yes.
Going the distance back I did with my brother Ruben. We had an ongoing joke, and this is going old. This is a deep cut old dive. But anyone that's listened to me on that show back in the day, we would have constant Burt Reynolds jokes. And little did I know that in the future Ryan would be actually breaking down the Burt Reynolds films.
This podcast, how many people in the world right now are podcasting about White Lightning? Just me and you. Just me and you.
Are you trying to tell me
that's an exclusive club?
You mean there's nobody else right now? You don't think of all the we're talking there's hundreds of thousands of podcasts and probably just as many movie review podcasts. Are you trying to tell me not one of them is covering White Lightning?
At 9:47 a.m. Eastern time on this Saturday morning of August 19th? No.
Come on, you have to make the podcast evergreen. You can't do that. You can't.
Sorry, you can edit that out. Just big old beep like I just cursed or something. It's okay.
Jared, you are a consummate professional. You have your own podcast, and let's see if I can get this right. I know you wrote it out for me.
It's at the bottom of your screen, Ryan.
Let's see if I can remember it. It's the hyperspace podcasting of the 21st century
in the future. No. It's the hyperspace podcasting in the 25th century.
You did write it out for me. It's a little bit that I have going on. Now I can't even do it because you literally wrote it out just for me.
I know. I'm sorry.
I know. Okay. Yeah, so Jared has a great podcast, and what's the last thing you covered on that? Tease people. What are you covering right now, or what's in the future
here? The last thing we did, actually, my partner in crime, my co-host Mike, he just put out a Judge Dredd podcast. Speaking of Mr. Stallone, him and his son did a podcast about Judge Dredd.
Wow.
And Mike has a show on the Hyperspace Network called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, where they break down these films, and they talked about Judge Dredd. So
there's nothing bad or ugly about Judge Dredd. Why would that movie be on that episode? I don't understand.
It's quite a favorable review.
Oh, wow.
We are Stallone fans over at the Hyperspace for sure.
Yes, you are for sure. Yeah. Have you guys covered? Actually, I was going to ask if you covered any Burt films, but then I would feel betrayed a little bit because I need your voice for this podcast for the
Ryan,
Burt films.
As I said, nobody's covering Burt like me and you.
Okay, good. Do you recall the films we've covered so far? We've done Heat,
and Malone.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh,
we've only done two, although it seems like a lot more.
We're going to do more as you. I run a podcast as well. I know we're both busy, and that's part of the problem why we haven't done more, but we're going to do more. If you're listening to this and you don't know who I am, I'm Ryan. I also do a podcast called One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast with my co-hosts Katie and Kyle. And I do a Rambo podcast, which we're on season 5. It's our last season of the Rambo podcast. I co-host with my co-host Dom. I don't know if you listen to that show. Do you listen to the Rambo one there, Jared?
I've listened to a few episodes. I'm still on Rambo 3.
Oh, okay.
Are you actually? So you're in the midst of Last Blood right now?
Yeah, we just started Last Blood. It's getting released tomorrow officially at the time it's recording. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil anything. I'm not going to tell you to listen because by all means you're a busy man. You don't need to hear my voice. I got too much of myself out there. I understand. But we do a really fun thing in seasons 4 now into season 5 where we basically have within each Rambo episode, we have a Frank Stallone segment.
Oh, yes. I've seen some of that on social. You talking about that.
It's become a fan favorite. I'm not going to lie. People are commenting on the Frank Stallone segments more than the Rambo. Talk about niche. Was it a word? Niche or niche? Niche. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone podcasting about Frank Stallone. So I've got that covered too. I've got the Burt and Frank corners covered.
When you're done with Rambo, you need to go full Frank.
That's what people are asking for, and I don't know if I can. I don't think I've got the heart.
I bet you'd come on the show.
Oh no! Oh, if you've seen it in any episodes, I hardly doubt it. Yeah,
He's an interesting person. That
oh yeah, he's a character. Yeah, he's got a heart of gold. Okay, let's not prolong the inevitable. Yes, we are covering today. Burt Reynolds' vehicle White Lightning came out in 1973. Did you know of this film or of its existence, Jared? Before I asked you to come onto the show,
in some ways, I did. I am a big Dukes of Hazzard fan.
Fair, okay, yeah.
And
yeah.
I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is at the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. Actually, this film spoke to me because these are my people. These are Southern, we would say rednecks, hillbillies.
Sure.
Take your pick. But Dukes of Hazzard was famously based on a movie called Moonrunners.
Oh, okay.
And Moonrunners,
I've never heard of that one.
It was released in 1975, actually, by the gentleman who actually created the Dukes of Hazzard TV show.
Oh.
And Moonrunners was from 75. And I consider White Lightning to be the grandfather of the Dukes of Hazzard because it came out a couple years before Moonrunners. And obviously, this became a genre, this sort of the rednecks fighting the police,
right,
that kind of thing. And I had never seen White Lightning, but I had heard of it tangentially because I've read books on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Wow. So, okay, you're a fan. Wow.
Yes. And there's something in this film that immediately stuck out of me, and I'll point that out when we get there. But
well, that's great. I definitely, not only did I pick the perfect co-host for this film, this is amazing. When I was watching this film, I of course thought of Dukes of Hazzard, and I had to Google when it was released. If you were to ask me 12 hours ago, when was Dukes of Hazzard out? I watched all the time as a kid too, but it's one of those shows where I didn't know if I was watching in syndication or if I was watching it when it was out, because I did that for the Brady Bunch and Gilligan's Island. Those are and Fantasy Island and Love Boat. I was watching a lot of those shows that were in syndication by that point in the 80s, but Dukes of Hazzard was actually 79 to 85. So I was watching new episodes. Unbeknownst to me at the time, I was actually watching current episodes. I didn't realize it was that sort of current, I guess you could say.
That's a great memory for me as a kid. Friday nights was Incredible Hulk and Dukes of Hazzard. It was the double feature. And so every Friday, that's how I started my weekend.
Now, I know nobody chooses where they lean towards, sexually speaking. We don't choose that, but Dukes of Hazzard was one of the first times I knew where I swung.
Dude. Yeah, I could tell you off mic about some things, but
sure.
Daisy Duke, that's it.
What's her name in real life again?
Catherine Bach.
Okay.
And there are physical things that change in a man when you see things.
Sure.
And let me say that maybe the first time I experienced a physical change was seeing her in a bikini. I'm just saying.
She's a lovely woman. It was her and Linda Blair. Was it Linda Blair?
Are you talking about Linda Carter?
Linda Blair. That's the
Exorcist. That's the Exorcist. Good grief, man. That's a whole different thing.
Well, that scene in bed with the crucifix, that got me. Okay, now you
good grief.
Boy, I might have to edit that out. Okay, that'd be Linda Carter. Sorry. Yes, man. Those two actresses back in the day, they definitely, yeah. Okay, we bring up Dukes of Hazzard because when I was watching this, I was okay. Did Dukes of Hazzard influence this film? Or did this film? Okay, so this was obviously this is 1973, so this is 6 years before Dukes. And White Lightning, of course, is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's referring to moonshine itself. It's a nickname to moonshine. And moonshine, for the uninitiated, maybe people don't know, but it's basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're from the South. I'm Canadian. We don't do moonshine up here. So moonshine it's basically homemade liquor, and people would make this liquor and basically to evade taxes and the cost. So it's a way to avoid the middleman. I'm making this at home. I'm going to bring this to the bars. You're going to sell it, whatever I make you, or basically sell it door to door. It's to avoid taxes and protocols. Of course, the issue with that is some of the alcohol content might be a little bit too high because this wasn't regulated. Am I getting that kind of right there?
100%. You nailed it.
All right.
It's notorious. It's notoriously strong alcohol.
Have you had moonshine? Now
yes.
We live in a day and age where people have their own distilleries or their homemade things nowadays. The homemade stuff nowadays is pretty high end compared to the 70s. But
let's see. Nowadays, I come from Tennessee, the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. There's a very touristy town there called Gatlinburg. It's very close to where Dolly Parton has her theme park, Dollywood. Okay. But in Gatlinburg, it's a Branson, Missouri type of place. Everybody goes there for their vacations and stuff. And they actually have a moonshine store there. Now, as you're saying, This is probably the more sanitized commercial moonshine. But I actually, a couple of years ago, you could pay $5 and you got this moonshine flight where they stacked up it was tiny little thimbles of different flavor of moonshine.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And for $5, I tell you what, after I went through that flight, I couldn't feel my teeth. It was a very fast acting thing.
Sure.
Now, as for the legit stuff, I did live for a couple years in West Virginia, which is also a notorious hillbilly redneck part of the world.
Sure.
And this was when I was 16. I did have a snort of an old hillbilly's moonshine. And that stuff would take the paint off a building. And I couldn't imagine anyone drinking it in any sort of quantity, but legit moonshine is absolutely no joke.
Okay. And so, that's of course what one of the big elements of this story is. Mm-hmm. So this came out in 1973. Burt Reynolds' age at this time was 37. So I know I'm a bit of a stickler for this. People who listen to my other shows, I don't know. For me, I try to look. Actors have to be somewhat their age within the film they're doing. Obviously, you can't have a 30-year-old playing an elementary school kid. There has to be some sort of semblance between the reality of who the actor is, what they look, and the character they're playing. And he plays a 37-year-old in real life story, and then he's in this film, and his brother, we'll get to it, is killed at the very beginning, and the brother's quite young. He's in high school. So are we led to believe now that Burt Reynolds is 22 in this film, or that he just is a half brother? Let's say it's a second marriage and it's 20 years apart in age. The kid's 17 and he's 30. That kind of stuff I don't like. I don't know why they couldn't just write. He didn't have to be in high school. He didn't have to be a high school kid. He should have been just his younger.
He could have been his mid-20s.
Sure, just a brother. Just the idea of just his brother was killed. The age is irrelevant. But they made him. Am I not wrong that he was a high school kid?
Yeah, he was in high school.
At least a senior. Or an early,
or maybe he was in college, because didn't they talk? There's talk about him falling in with college. The hippies and everything.
Yeah,
I think so. Maybe if you're going to college, he would be in his 20s.
Okay, sure. He's been going to college for 4 to 6 years. Let's even make him. Okay, fine. He's 25, so 10 years apart. Okay, fair enough. If we want to make him a college student, it will be fair to the film. Okay, that's a nitpicky thing. But again, Burt was 37. This film came out a year after Deliverance, which yes, we will do on the show. That will be one that you and I will have to do, of course. Here's some show notes for you, and we'll speak to it if you like. Originally titled McCluskey. There you go. I'm glad they didn't call it that. Are you glad they changed it, or?
Yeah, that has no. There's nothing that grabs you with McCluskey.
Okay. Now, this was a part of the production team of Levy and Gardner. This film was introduced to them as a key component of their ambitious plan to produce 7 movies for United Artists within a 2-year time frame.
Wow.
Yeah. The script, it was a creation by the writer Norton, which we'll speak to in a second. He was a frequent collaborator with the producers and showcased a villain inspired by a real-life sheriff named Marlon Hawkins. So Norton himself is a character. We'll talk about the writer of this film. He's a bit of a character. But then I had to Google the sheriff Marlon Hawkins. Have you ever heard of this guy?
No.
Okay. So this film was based on him, played by Ned Beatty in the film. Now, there's no Wikipedia on this guy, so I'm thinking, who is this guy that it got wind to Norton, right? That they wrote about him, but there's not even a Wikipedia page on him. But there is information on him because the individual, Norton, wrote a book, a biography on himself. So his name is William Wallace Bill Norton. He was born on September 24th, 1925. He died October 1st, 2010. He was a prominent American. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Wrong. That's the writer. Oh, here we go. So let me start that again. So this is the information on the sheriff, the real life sheriff, Marlon Hawkins. Okay. So there was persistent rumors of election rigging in Conway County, long lacking substantial evidence were given new weight by the discovery of around 200 forged paper ballots from the 1968 Democratic primary in the attic of a house owned by the deceased deputy sheriff. This revelation coincided with the publication of this book called How I Stole Elections, a book by Marlon Hawkins. So there you go. The only information I could find on this guy was he wrote a book called How I Stole Elections. He was a former sheriff and a tax collector of the county from 1950 to 1978. Although admitting to actions like paying poll taxes and observing ballot stuffing, Hawkins denied direct involvement in tampering with ballots to sway election outcomes, asserting that he gained support by providing services and favors to constituents. Despite health issues, Hawkins remained spirited, having demonstrated his dedication to the community through charitable efforts. Despite multiple investigations, he had rarely been indicted, except for once in connection to a highway construction contract. Though admitting to ballot forgery in the past, Hawkins denied knowledge of the 1968 tampering. The situation shed light on a history of political corruption, underscoring the unchanging nature of such manipulations. I don't know how Nori got wind of this guy. He must have been locally near him, but the dude wrote a book titled, you can buy it on Amazon, How I Stole Elections, a book by Marlon Hawkins. Okay, so the character JC, Sheriff JC in the movie, played by Ned Beatty, they did a really good job. And I don't know who this guy is, but watching the character and knowing a bit of the background of this Marlon guy, I got a real feeling for what this guy could have been like. Now, obviously, a much eviler version. He wasn't a murderer, but the idea of manipulating the community. What are your thoughts on, generally speaking, on the law, especially these small towns? It seems to be these small town things. Is this something you're aware of, or small towns being influenced by the law type thing?
I don't have any personal experience with this kind of thing in any place that I've lived, but of course this is almost a trope of movies like this, where the people in power are manipulating the system to keep themselves there. But yeah, Ned Beatty did a great job in this movie.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about it. We'll get to him in a sec. I got one more show note. I got some more show notes here. Look at me trying to be organized here. I'm actually...
What's going on?
I know. Okay. Here's something about Burt Reynolds. So Burt Reynolds saw the film as a pivotal point, marking the inception of a series of movies set in the South, centered around the South, and made exclusively for Southern audiences. He believed the film's success was guaranteed within Southern states, and while its reception beyond those borders was an added bonus, the primary focus was the Southern demographic. He praised the film's quality, highlighting director Joe Sargent's skill with actors in the cast, which included talents like Ned Beatty, relatively unknown at the time, despite the film deliverance the year before. Reynolds admitted his determined effort to secure Betty's involvement. So there we go. Speaking of his performance as the sheriff. Now, of course, you read this trivia already, but did you know Steven Spielberg was in consideration to direct this film?
Yeah, this was going to be his first movie.
That's insane.
Yeah.
At the time, he helmed 3 TV movies, and he was set to direct this, but he opted out.
Yeah.
Reflecting on his decision, Spielberg acknowledged a desire to launch his career with a more personal and artistically challenging project, leading him to direct the Sugarland Express instead. And have you seen that movie, Sugarland Express?
Yes.
Oh, what's it about? Is it good or?
Yeah, it's a I don't know, crime. There's 2 criminals on the run. It's definitely a product of the early 70s.
Okay.
But,
then I got to ask you, is it better than White Lightning? If you had to choose a film to watch again right now, would you watch Sugarland Express, or even 1 year from now, Sugarland Express or White Lightning? Which one would you watch?
Probably Sugarland. But then I'm a Spielberg nerd. And Sugarland Express, by the way, was the first time that Steven Spielberg teamed up with John Williams, the composer.
Really? Wow.
A relationship that continues to this day.
Isn't John Williams officially retired now?
Yeah, Indiana Jones was the last one was his last film score, but he keeps saying, why should I retire if I still feel like doing this? So
sure.
Who knows? The guy's 91. Good grief.
Jeez. Take a break, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of film scores, this film's musical score was composed by Charles Bernstein. Strikingly, portions of the score found their way into Quentin Tarantino's 2000 film Kill Bill Volume 1 and his 2009 Inglourious Bastards.
Yep.
There you go. And I can see that. And I can see why Quentin was a fan of this film. He had some sort of film, what do you call it? Festival?
He showed this at one of his early film festivals.
Right.
White Lightning.
Now, knowing that, did you know that before you saw the film, or did you read that after?
No, I read the stuff after I watched it.
Okay, I actually knew that before I watched the film, which was interesting because watching the film, knowing Quentin's love for the film, the score, it enhanced it for me. I get why Quentin likes this. Now, last show note, this is about the writer, William Wallace Bill Norton. Okay, so he died in 2010. So he was a prominent American screenwriter, best known for his collaborations with Burt Reynolds. But beyond his Hollywood career, Norton's life took several dramatic turns. You don't know any of this stuff, eh?
No.
Okay. So he was convicted of gun running from the United States to the Irish National Liberation Army, Northern Ireland. Wow. And after serving time, he relocated to Nicaragua, where he fatally shot an intruder into his home. Goodness. Then he lived in Cuba briefly before becoming disillusioned with communism and returning to the U.S. with the assistance of his ex-wife. His journey included involvement in World War II, writing for television and films, association with the Communist Party, and then eventually passing away in Santa Barbara, California at the age of 85. That's just a very quick bio on this. A
lot of living there.
Yeah, no kidding. That's the writer of the film. I find that stuff fascinating, that this guy who wrote White Lightning was a communist and he ran guns to the IRA. That's we should make a movie on him, quite frankly.
Sure, it sounds like it.
All right. Now, this film, believe it or not, has an aggregate rating of 75% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Now, it's only 8 reviews, mind you, of professional reviewers, but still 8 people, average score is 75% fresh. That just means, as for people fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, is 60% or higher. That's how it works. So 75% of the 8 people gave it a score of 60% or higher. So we won't get into too many of the reviews from the professionals because we're going to get into that ourselves. But lastly, did you know this was part 1 to a part 2 series?
Oh, yeah. I was going to save this, but it's obvious what the next podcast has to be. It's obvious.
That's right. There was a 1976 film titled Gator. Which is, of course, is Burt Reynolds' nickname. Yes. His name in the film was actually Bobby McCluskey, but his nickname Gator. Now
we have to talk about it.
Yeah, so we won't go scene by scene in this film necessarily, but I'm going to break down the plot sequentially. But if whatever comes to your mind, we can play scenes. I've got the film lined up where we can actually show scenes. It'll be out on the episode for people to hear, because there's a couple things. It's always hard because I'm terrible at my note taking. I always start off writing notes on the film, and then I end up just watching it. I'm just getting engrossed in the film that I forget to write notes. But speaking of his nickname Gator, do we get any indication of why his name was Gator? Do you remember why he was nicknamed Gator?
There's
like the scene in the water.
There's some joke about this in the scene, when the water scene. But
do you want to talk about it? Set it up for me, and I can actually see if I can find it in.
He has a liaison in a pond with his buddy's girlfriend. There it is. And she just makes some comment. Wow, now I see why they call you Gator.
All right, let's play that right now.
There's Bo Hopkins in his tidy whities.
Yeah. Okay. If you haven't seen this film, we're not going to necessarily go in chronological order. We're already an hour into the film, this scene, but this is we're talking about to Gator's nickname. So Gator is making out and having coitus with the cohort he's running around with right now in the whiskey business, his girlfriend. Okay, so he's in bed eating breakfast now in the kitchen in his whitey tighties, the boyfriend. But Bert and his lady friend are in this leech infested pond. Would you swim in this thing?
No. It freaks me out how they're sitting there right next to that dock, and all kinds of things live underneath that.
Oh yeah,
it's just all the lily pads and the moss all over the place. Get out of here.
And they're having coitus in the water.
Yes.
And then she makes this comment. It's coming up after the breakfast scene. It's going to show him again. So he can't find her. He doesn't know where she is and where they are. Damn
people wandering off.
So he says, damn people wandering off because his girlfriend's gone. Can't find her. Does he spit into his food? I'm not sure.
It said, the subtitle said spitting, but he just it said it to me. He just made a noise. Like a raspberry.
Okay.
Ooh, now I know why they call you Gator.
And okay, so now She says, "I know why they call you Gator," as they're about to have coitus in the water. Now, Kate, any thoughts into what the correlation is between a gator and penis?
Maybe he has a reptilian penis that is in some sort of,
Is it barbed,
like
scaly?
Maybe it comes out of, it's an enclosed and it comes out. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the genitals of reptiles.
It has a
Somehow
bite.
I don't. Yeah, maybe he just likes to bite. I don't know.
All right.
Maybe that's why.
I don't get the joke either, but he laughs and she laughs. This is the funniest thing
Yeah.
I've ever heard. Okay, so let's go a little bit over the plot at the beginning here. So Bobby Gator McCluskey, he finds himself in an Arkansas state prison for making and selling illegal moonshine. That's why he's locked up at the beginning of the film. And
Yes.
these are events that took place before the film started. But his world changes when he gets heartbreaking news. His younger brother Donnie was killed by Sheriff J.C. Connors of Bogan County. Okay, now let's talk about this opening sequence. When I saw this for the first time, and only time so far, probably last time. But anyways, this opening sequence, what are your thoughts on it? Is it effective, not effective? What do you think?
Yeah, you don't really have any context
Right.
immediately for what's happening.
Yeah, we should explain what's happening to our listening audience. Yeah, right now, what I just read you with the bio, we haven't seen that as a viewer. That comes later. It opens with two young kids tied to cement blocks, hands tied, their mouths are gagged, and the sheriff and his buddy are at a lake. They're pulling them out they're towing them on their own little skiff rowboat with their rowboat into the middle of the pond lake, obviously to kill them, and they do. And let's hear some of that music, because the music adds to that southern.
Let me tell you something real quick.
Sure.
You keep saying southern.
I know. Sorry.
We say southern.
I know. It's the way I pronounce it. It's the way I pronounce. I don't know what it is about me. I've been told this my whole life. I say monster. I say monster.
Okay, that's you're from Canada. It's fine.
Yeah. I know. We say our mom is mum. So not mom.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's mum. So,
I'm not trying to correct you.
No,
You're
please.
the host of the show.
It's funny that you're just as much a host on this episode as I am. Don't put this on me. Don't put this episode on me. Okay. So here's some of that southern. Sorry, southern. Oh boy, I can't do it. It might be because I'm Canadian. I don't know, but
possibly.
Okay, here we go. Southern music. Here we go. Oh wait, we go back a little bit more.
Okay, let me tell you something. You see that the font?
Oh yeah, the font of the film credits.
That's the Dukes of Hazzard font.
It is the same font, isn't it?
Exactly. Yep.
Interesting. So, what do you think of that musical cue? It's
sinister, and
it's almost sinister, but it's sinister because it's so casual to what's about a murder is about to be committed, and that's what kind of makes it creepy. It's almost a relaxing southern music that
it is.
But that's what makes it extra creepy is that they're about to be executed and the music's so relaxing.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I wasn't exactly sure what was going to happen here.
Right.
Because these people are obviously freaked out. But Ned Beatty, he's just calm.
Casually,
yeah, he's very
well, yeah, so he pulls out a shotgun. First I'm thinking, oh, he's just going to shoot them and then dump their bodies from their boat. But he actually shoots their boat so it sinks. So they sink slowly to their death, which just dawned on me what he gets in the end of the movie. It just dawned on me now.
See, look at that.
Full circle. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the film yet, Ned Beatty meets the same demise at the end of the film, which, of course, we're going to have to show that. I want to comment on that. So Ned Beatty shoots the boat, so the kids in the boat, and that's a great little special effect. The water sprays up.
Mm-hmm.
The boat starts sinking, and I'm still trying to figure out how they got the boat to sink then. And the kids are struggling in the boat, and they sink to their demise. They casually just start paddling away.
They're obviously tethered to the boat somehow. They can't they can't jump out of the boat, obviously.
There's cinder blocks to their hands as well.
Yeah,
so
okay. Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, no, yeah, their hands were tied to cinder blocks in the boat, so they're sinking good. Then, of course, to the jail where Burt Reynolds' Gator is. I guess we can say Gator. Everyone will know Burt Reynolds. That's Gator. So 37-year-old Burt here, Gator, shirtless in this scene, working on working on an engine block in jail. This is one of those jails where they get to do projects like this, right? We saw in Lockup with Stallone. They get to work on cars or do. So Burt himself has a Southern accent in this film.
Yes, he does.
What are your thoughts on his accent?
It's pretty. Everybody does a pretty good job with the accents in this movie. Nothing really rings false to me, having the practiced ear, listening and growing up in this part of
Just Burt's. Do you like Burt? No mustache or mustache? What's your thoughts?
You know
on
what?
that?
Here's a sort of a high level observation I have. The two other movies we've talked about on the show we've caught Burt between eras of his career. Malone and Heat were both made when he really wasn't a big star. He really hadn't found fame again on TV yet. He was just floating around out there. People knew who he was. But here we've got Burt. This is after Deliverance.
Right.
We're catching him here right before his career skyrockets. This is before Smokey and the Bandit, but that is coming very soon. So
cover those films, aren't we?
Eventually we'll have to. But those films are low-hanging fruit. This is where we dig deep here.
I haven't seen Smokey and the Bandit in so long.
It's been at least 30 years.
Yeah, I would say 30. I saw them as a kid like you probably. We both saw them in the 80s, and I never revisited them.
But it'll be
And
fun.
I got them mixed up with the Cannonball Run films because he's in those too.
Yes, he is. And it's very similar.
It's weird. They're both involving cars and racing or something like that, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Speaking of cars, this film, heavy on the car. We can talk about the heavy on the car chases. Do you want to speak to the car chases?
Sure, absolutely. That's one of the reasons Dukes of Hazzard came to my mind immediately. You're going through these dirt roads. This muscle car is being chased by the police through the backwoods, rural areas. There's some airborne cars in this.
So the Dukes of Hazzard, they go through how many cars an episode? Do we know?
Oh yeah, they several. Because every time
Did you get that feeling with this, there's no way they use the same Ford LTD through the.
No way, no. Because General Lee famously, every time they did a jump, the car was totaled.
You can see the car fold in half.
You can see the axle break on half of the jumps that they do, and then in the next shot they're just driving off.
It's got a fresh coat of wax on and everything.
Yeah, exactly. The General Lee never breaks. But in this movie, they actually, we can talk about it now or later, but
any order. We can go order. It doesn't matter.
They make that jump onto a barge.
Oh yeah.
And which was actually a mistake. It was a blooper. The stuntman, I believe it was a man named Hal Needham, was supposed to make the jump onto the barge completely, and he missed it.
Oh,
and they leave that in the movie, and he was actually injured during that stunt. And I read this in the trivia that Burt Reynolds, after this happened, he jumped into the water. That was a mistake.
Yeah, I was going to say it. Not that it looks like a mistake, but the idea that we filmed it, this is what happens, and let's just keep it because we've got the film. We got to work it into the film. So they play it off. Burt's character Gator meant to miss the jump. I'm just going to casually get out of the car, says Gator. I'm going to hide behind the car's cover so I don't get shot at by the police. So that's how they played it into the film. But had he made the landing, the car would just be on the barge floating away.
Exactly. But and they actually say they work it into the movie because they have to fix the car now.
And it is damaged. It is so. Look at the damage on that car.
It's all messed up.
They do take it to the shop and they talk about, well, what did you do to this car, Gator? And we're gonna have to do this and XYZ to the car. But they did a whole body work on it because the whole front end smashed in. So it's funny that So, but incredible stunt.
Yeah, and Burt, he jumped because I guess the guy driving the car is a friend of his, and when he saw what happened, he jumped into the water and swam to the barge and helped his friend.
Oh wow,
who was pretty seriously injured in that stunt.
So he's a real life hero, that guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me read a little bit more here, of course, of the plot. We'll go back a little bit. Fueled by grief and anger, Gator tries to escape the jail that he's in, but his attempts fail and he's caught again. Now, what do you want to speak to this is okay. We have to go to the jail escape scene. So Gator I got it right here. 1 sec, sorry. Gator is lying down in prison, chilling, relaxing. I have no idea where this film is going. No, Gator is in prison. I haven't read any of the. I don't read any of the synopsis. I didn't watch any trailers. I went into this movie blind. Okay.
Same.
Okay. So he's chilling out in almost what looks like the sick bay of the hospital.
Yeah.
And a guard comes to talk to Gator. We'll hear a little bit of the conversation. It's hard to make out because his southern accent. It's very strong. Thank goodness for the captions. But what I love is, say this for the audience, but we'll play it out. Gator basically physically assaults this police officer, knocks him silly. I love how he knocks him out. And just casually walks out of jail. Is this the lowest security prison you've ever seen there?
Yeah, absolutely. This seems a little too easy.
So the guard opens the gate to go talk to Gator.
5 days. Mr. Sam said you go on and get yourself on over to the shop.
So I guess he's been in mourning for 5 days is the idea. So he opens up the gate to the hospital, almost like he's having a mental health break. He's out of the general population. He's in the sick bay. No one else is there. The guard comes in. Come on now. The warden says you got to go work on cars again. You can't. How much time do you need to mourn the loss of your brother? Type dialogue.
Yeah. Mr. Sam doesn't give you every break there is, and all you lean the kind of son of a guns think you got to do is just make moonshine liquor and don't give a damn about nothing to nobody. You go.
Okay. So he. Okay. What's he saying here? Can you translate any of this for me?
He's basically saying you're a lazy SOB and it's time to get back to work.
Okay, so he does mention moonshine, which again we know later that's why he's in jail, because of the moonshine industry or whatever. But go work on cars, you moonshine guys. Or now Gator, this is all part of the ploy. Gator gets up and just kicks the crap out of him.
Gonna be chopping cotton.
And I love that music though. Yeah. But watch Gator just walks out here. Well, this prisoner's walking around everywhere, but he just, other than the one door that the guard opened, Gator just keeps. Are you seeing where?
And there it is. So that's the exit. Okay, he has to go outside, and there's still
he's outside, sure.
But there's a guard tower there. I see it.
The guard actually waves at Gator. Hey, yeah, Gator, how you doing?
Maybe he just figures if he's so nonchalant that nobody's gonna think anything is going on.
But then look, how did he? Where did he? Where? Is it an electrical fence? I don't understand.
It didn't show him really scaling a fence or anything. He just hops over that knee-high little barrier or whatever it is.
Do you see this film flub, so to speak? Here, did you catch the film flub?
I did not see it. What
do you see right now? Describe his wardrobe.
He's got white pants and his shirt is open, unbuttoned and open.
He's got the Burt Reynolds bear rug exposed to the audience. Mm-hmm. So he's open. So the character, this is the film flip, but if you want to speak to what's happened, the character has decided at this moment, after a bit of running, he's opened up his shirt to air out his sweaty body, right? It's hot there.
Sure.
But then the next scene, he's okay, I've had enough. I love how he hops over that fence. What? The next scene is, watch this, his shirt will be buttoned up against. Okay, enough airing out the, not here, but it's coming up, but enough airing out of my rug. I just love those little film flub moments because whatever day they were filming this, he had his shirt open, but when they're doing the sequence, day 2 of the sequence, his shirt will be buttoned up again. He goes, see, look,
there it is. Yeah.
So we're led to believe that the character stopped for a second, undid his shirt.
Maybe he thought it's time for a little modesty now. I need to,
maybe
I'm running into town. I don't want my bear rug exposed.
So at this point, as a viewer, we're thinking, okay, he's escaping. He's on the run. He's on the lam, as they say. This is a pretty big deal to get out of jail.
They got the horse and the dogs out, and they're chasing him.
And then the warden says, "Gator, where in the hell do you think you're going?" And then he's caught again, just like that. He's caught, and he's back to digging ditches in the trenches.
Yeah. See, now he doesn't have the cushy job in the motor pool working on engines anymore. Now he's out in the sun with this back-breaking manual labor, and this is his punishment, obviously.
That's right. He's digging out in the ditches, the hot sun, but it's a little bit of eye candy for the ladies. What do you think?
Sure, of course. Bart's in fine shape for 37-year-old guy.
He's in great shape. Let's talk about this. Was he or was he not considered a sex symbol back
Oh,
in
of
the
course.
day? Okay.
Yeah, one of the biggest in the world. Now, here, I like this. He brings out a pack of Lucky Strike cigarettes. You know how I know that?
How's that?
Oh, man. I smoked Lucky Strikes when I was in college.
Was that
And
where you get the gravelly radio voice from?
No. I had to stop. Those are non-filtered cigarettes.
Oh.
And I thought I was a big badass in college for smoking non-filter cigarettes, but it was really stupid. It started to turn my fingers orange and yellow, and I stopped.
Oh, that's terrible. No, I'm glad you stopped smoking, Jerry. We want you around podcasting well into the 25th century. We need you around.
That's the plan anyway.
Yeah. I apologize if you hear my kids fight in the background.
I cannot hear that.
Oh, good. I don't know how sensitive it is. I can hear them in my right ear, but so when I'm watching this, I'm thinking, how is Gator going to get out of this? He's caught. He's back in jail. Again, seeing this for the first time, I had no idea how he's going to get out of this mess. But let me tell you, folks, how he gets out. So go back to my plot notes here. He gets caught again. He discovers that Sheriff Connors is taking money from local moonshiners, and the government offers Gator a chance to help expose these illegal dealings as an undercover agent from the United States Department of the Treasury.
Yep.
Of course, however, Gator's real motive is vengeance for his brother's deaths, and he doesn't plan to gather evidence against the moonshiners. So that's basically the general plot here, folks. So he's in jail, and he's hired by the U.S. government. What do you think the plausibility of this is?
I don't know. It makes sense within the film. I don't know if this is, but I mean, of course, this happens all the time, especially as it involves organized crime. They have the guys they want to flip, and they call them a stool pigeon in this movie, which is what they call them sometimes. But
Stool pigeon, yeah.
Be a rat. They release former criminals back into the criminal element to work for the government. That's not incredibly far-fetched.
So what is it? So the U.S. government, they want intel on J.C. Connors, the sheriff, correct? That's what they're saying. Hey, but I'm trying to figure out their connection, how they knew Bert's connection to the brother that was killed. Why did they recruit him? Why did they go to?
No, does that
make sense? What I'm asking here?
Yes, but okay. I don't know. I don't recall that from just my one watch of the film.
No, I don't recall it either.
But maybe
the dialogue right here.
Maybe it'll explain.
So I'm let those reports go for now and wait outside.
Right back. I just let my dog out the door.
This is Mr. Cantrell. Mr. Cantrell, it's your wingding.
Sit down, Mr. McCluskey. Mr. Sims told us you want to cooperate with the federal department. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Let's see. 12 months remaining in your sentence. Second offense, making and transporting untaxed whiskey. As you understand, I beg your pardon?
Third offense. First time I was 13.
Yeah. As you understand, if information related to federal income tax evasion or unpaid liquor tax can be obtained, it's within the policy of the government to cooperate with state prison officials. We have a file on the Bogan County Sheriff. He's a damn tough cookie. He's got several unsolved homicides going for him, as well as other circumstances. But our jurisdiction is only the manufacture of untaxed illegal whiskey. Miss McCluskey, if you haul from an illegal still, that's direct evidence. If you see who receives money, that's direct evidence. If you can testify in court as to money paid to the sheriff's department, that's direct evidence. If you can determine the actual location of illegal unreported income, that is a federal case. Do you understand?
So
okay, so that
he's being given an opportunity unrelated to the disappearance of his brother.
But just so happens, so they were almost alerted to this guy because he's increased his prison sentence by trying to escape, and they're like, "Hey, maybe we can use him to be an under because he is a moonshiner. That's right. He's in this industry, so if we use him to get at the sheriff's illegal runs with the moonshine as well, we can get him on all this stuff we just heard." Then we can nail him. So it's like the Al Capone thing, right? With taxes. It was tax evasion or tax fraud they got Al Capone for, not for murder. That's kind of the same idea here. Is that not
correct? They can't nail him with one thing, so they get him with something else.
Right. So it might not be murder he goes to jail with, because they're saying there's some unsolved homicides in his county.
Yes.
Well, we don't know nobody solved them because they're thinking it might be him.
He also makes it clear we're not interested in that. We're interested in because this Ned Beatty is already on their radar. They know something's up with him.
But they probably shouldn't have worded like that. They were just saying because they're from the Department of the Treasury, so it's about the money.
Yes,
they should have just said they should. Yeah, we're not worried about the money. Yeah, their department is strictly about the money. That's what they're after, not about the murder. But it's just, I know it's just funny. We don't care that he's taking innocent lives. We're just after his money.
The money.
Yeah. Now so what I love though is the government they equip or give Gator a Ford LTD car. Are you familiar with this type of car?
Yes.
Okay. What do you know about it?
My dad used to have one.
Oh wow.
Not this particular model. It was from the 1980s, but yeah, these are cars that were sometimes modified to have these big hot rod engines in them and everything.
But why did they present him the car as some sort of James Bond type vehicle? The car is a secondary character in this film.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So let's hear some of the dialogue of the government official handing over this car to Gator. To me, it's almost James Bond when Q offers this.
Okay, 007. Here's your car.
This is what it feels like.
McCluskey? Yeah, over here. There it is. Take a look at it.
There it is.
Where you do your whiskey running in? Who tuned it? You like it?
Uh-huh. Go on, would you look at that motor?
The guy who did it's one of our boys. He used to do a little running.
Now, Watson operates a garage. We've got him on federal probation, so there.
429, do carburetor.
We've got him on federal probation. Therefore, he'll help you.
Let it.
Good luck.
That's his debrief. Here's a car. Right. Now the car was tuned up to be a little bit faster, a little bit supercharged because the guy who rebuilt the engine, who now works for the government, was also part of a moonshine. So he knows how to amp up the car's engine a bit to go faster because this car outruns everybody and everything in the film.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So it's just funny. Is there anything else? Yeah, you're going to go work with a guy named Dude Watson because he's also on probation and he'll help you because he'll have no choice. But do they tell Dude that he's coming? Because it seems like Dude's unaware of Gator's hiring of him. Gator does say you're on probation, so you're going to help me. But why does Dude agree to help him?
I guess we just have to watch on.
Okay.
See, because I don't remember that exact.
Okay, so yeah, Gator gets in touch with Dude Watson. He's the local stock car racer, and he's a minor moonshine runner. And he's pressured into cooperating due to his probation status. But what I'm getting at, so the government tells Gator to go get in contact with Dude because of his probation status. But it seems like Dude is unaware that Gator's coming to do that. That's where I'm a little confused about. You think the government say, hey,
they would say, this guy's coming to see you.
That's right.
Be ready.
Sorry. So what I don't understand. So Gator gets the car. He's wearing a shirt and tie. Sure. He strips off his shirt and tie as he's driving down the highway. And for poops and giggles, he decides to get into a high-speed chase for the cops for the heck of it. What's your thoughts on that?
Sure. Maybe he's got a fast new car here. He's really feeling himself just out of prison. Man.
Is this to showcase his skill as a driver?
I think so. Obviously, it's setting up that that he knows how to handle this.
Do you remember what they called his position in the industry as a moonshine runner? What he's referred to as?
No.
A blocker.
A blocker.
Yeah. So a blocker, I'd say it's obvious, but why is he called a blocker? So when he goes on a moonshine run later in the film, working with Dude Watson and Roy, he goes in between the car that is holding the moonshine and the cop car to make space between the moonshine run and the cop car. So he's literally blocking the cops from getting the moonshine and the driver of the moonshine goods. So he's a blocker. But now he gets his new Ford LTD car. It's a manual too, by the way.
Yeah, no, 4-speed, they said.
Oh, okay. And I will say this.
What was that store he just passed?
Oh, I missed it.
Oh my goodness.
So he's just having a blast. He thinks it's just being chased by a motorcycle cop and I love how we have these kids on the road, but this car chase is it's a lot of fun. But these stunt car drivers, what are your thoughts on their driving abilities in general? Taking these turns and what have you back in the day here?
Oh yeah,
They're
I mean,
flying.
this is straight up Dukes of Hazzard right here. This just reminded me of watching an episode. You got Roscoe chasing the General Lee, taking these turns, and it's funny too. I like how in some of these shots you see it's Burt driving.
Yes. Oh,
Like-
there's
like
shots
he's-
with Ned Betty driving at the end.
Yes,
yeah.
they're doing a lot of this stunt driving, which I like because it adds to the realism.
And there's a lot of scenes here with the stunt drive where they're just going down the street. They're not doing much to close off the streets. There's people
No,
standing
exactly.
around, very a little bit too close for comfort in my books.
And
I
I
don't know if you
believe,
ever seen on Instagram stuff when people close down the streets with a little stunt car driving or whatever they do.
yeah,
They end up hitting pedestrians that are there watching, the people that are watching the filming. That's what this reminded me. But there's people a little bit too close for comfort. But anyways,
it looks like Bert's got himself an open beer can too while
sure.
he's driving around like this.
Well, it helps
He's
the
hitting on,
nerves.
he's hitting on some. I believe we're meant to believe these girls are in their late teens. Although
the
being from
ages
the
are
70s, they look they're about 35.
Yeah. Oh, he is drinking alcohol as he's driving. Yes, he's
Yes.
making it very clear. So he's hitting on these girls. I don't know. He's famous in these parts a little bit, but again, he's 37. The girls he's talking to are, to be generous, they might be 20.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Bert goes to his mom and pa's house to talk about Donnie.
Yeah.
Is that what this is? Yeah.
This is it. You know who his father is? Did you recognize him?
No.
I don't know did you ever watch Little House on the Prairie?
No, I'm very
Okay.
familiar with the show, but I don't know any of the cast of characters.
His father played the preacher from town.
Oh, okay.
He was also in the Green Mile.
Oh,
This guy, he played Tom Hanks as an old man.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Now, so he's there to visit his mom and pa. And we're led to believe it the way he calls him mom and pop, but that he is young. We honestly, the film makers and Bert, we're supposed to think he's 25, honestly. It all makes sense if he's in his early 20s. The way he talks to other girls, the way he talks about his younger brother. What do you think?
You could push this to him being about 30. He could be a rough 30. He's had a pretty tough life, so I could buy him as a 30-year-old guy here.
Okay, we'll go with reasonably he might be 30. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let me go back to the... All right, so yeah, he's off to meet... So he's just saying to his parents he's going to go look into this type of stuff, and they're telling him, try not to get yourself in too much trouble to see what happened to our son. So now we're at the car rally, and this is now where Bert meets the person that's going to help him, Dude. But Dude Watson is unaware that he's here to... Dude should have been informed that you're going to be connecting, but they left Bert's up to him to make the connections. Odd.
Yeah.
Howdy. Say, how are you?
You did Watson?
Yeah, that's what they call me.
Hey, you're a hell of a mechanic.
Oh, yeah? Shoot. Well, I don't know.
You wanna tune up my wire in here?
What, today? No way.
You got a big race today, have you?
You know it.
So they have this whole conversation. It's awkward. Again, they have the feds to say, look, Dude Watson, you're on probation. We're highly aware of you. You're going to have a guy coming. If you want your probation to be lifted, you got a guy coming. His name is Gator, and you guys are going to work together to get some evidence. But there's no... He's so undercover that the FBI are just letting... What happens if this meeting failed? Like...
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of very just fly by the seat of your pants stuff that goes on here.
In fact, he's so unaware of Bert's needing his help. The probation caucus, the talk is coming up that so Gator follows Dude to his residence. Dude Watson knows he's being followed, so he brings out the shotgun to maybe kill or protect his home / shop from Gator because he doesn't know who Gator is.
Yeah.
And this happens. So he's looking for Gator. He's got his gun out. The shotgun is out. Which I love this. He's got the kids playing in the background when he's carrying a shotgun around, which is always great. I love that. You know who that little girl is, on the swing?
It's Laura Dern.
Laura Dern. Here we go. The gun goes off. Bert grabs it. Dude is outside a shop with Bert holding the gun. And then the mother yells, Jeremiah, are you playing with that gun? I love how the first gun goes off and right away people are assuming it's a kid playing with the gun.
Yeah, you playing with that gun?
Silly kids.
Open that door!
Anyway, so they have their little conversation, and Bert explains who he is, and the dude's yelling at his wife, "Just go get the kids inside, and I'll take care of this." Again, because he doesn't know who Gator is, but it's almost. Here's the thing about the film, because we shouldn't go plot by plot with every single scene, but I want to talk about some of the. What's interesting about this film is that it's Dukes of Hazzard type comedy or lightheartedness, but then there's some really dark moments at the beginning of the film with the murders at the beginning.
Yes.
What did you think of that? Right now, he just punches dude in the stuff. The stuff is just. What are your thoughts overall about that juxtaposition between? It seems lighthearted at times, and then it gets that 70s dark grittiness.
Yeah, there's a couple of scenes in here that are. This movie's rated PG.
Yes,
this is definitely a 1973 PG because there's a couple of scenes in this movie where there's suggestion of rape.
Oh yeah, they try to rape
Diane Ladd
twice. Her a couple times, and then the girlfriend, is that who the girlfriend and dude's wife when the cops come to talk to her.
Yes, exactly.
They put up against a tree and it gets broken up.
Yeah, and it's stuff that's really unsettling, especially when you're watching some of this goofball stuff going on, and then it just takes a big shift.
Yeah, there's 3 different rape attempts in this film.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Oh man. Okay, next for the plot point. So they hook up. He discovers that Sheriff Connor. Oh, I read that part. Okay, so with Dude's help, Gator enters the local moonshine scene and gets introduced to Roy Boone, who's a top runner working for the moonshiner Big Bear.
Yeah.
So Big Bear is also Sheriff Connor's enforcer.
Yep.
And then later in the film, Gator, as we showed at the very beginning of this episode, Gator becomes romantically involved with Lou, the female, who is Ray, these names, who is Roy Boone's girlfriend. However, he slowly gains the trust of Roy and Big Bear. While seemingly working on infiltrating the moonshine industry, Gator secretly plots his revenge against the sheriff who took his brother's life. So he's working on the inside, essentially, to get close to the sheriff. He's playing both sides. He's playing with the feds enough that the feds allowed this activity to continue. There's only one scene in the film where the feds check up on him. How are we doing here? Where are we at with this? And thoughts?
That was quite a lot. No, I do want to talk about Ned Beatty for a second.
Please. Yes.
In this movie, he looks older in this movie than he does. Okay, remember he's in Superman, right?
All right.
Superman doesn't film for another 5-6 years from this point, and he looks younger in Superman than he does here. Ned Beatty's probably, I don't know. He looks like he's pushing 50 years old in this movie, although he's probably at least 10 years younger than that. I just think it's weird that this came out in 73 and Ned Beatty looks older than he does in some movies way down the line.
But he does talk about his character, or how he does.
His performance is very. To me, it's very natural. It doesn't feel like he's reading lines. It feels like he's actually talking to people. Yeah, and it's a thing that a good actors can do. He's really good in this role.
He's 35 here.
Oh my gosh! See, now doesn't he look like he's a 55-year-old guy?
It's crazy. He's 35. Now the balding head doesn't help, and the bit of a gut or whatever. But
sure,
yeah. Now, Ned Beatty's acting this whole film, he did not dial it in. He gave a very strong, and he plays that fine line kind of sheriff, law enforcement guy who's good with the public, and the public loves him. So when he dies at the end, they have a full-on parade for this guy. This is a beloved character in the county.
Yeah. And he talks, it's funny how he talks to his secretary. It's very, that also is, I love that dialogue. He's, I'm going to be cursing. I'm sorry you got to hear that. And that kind of thing.
He's the gentleman.
Very Southern.
Yes. But he's a murderer. Exactly. And it's interesting, but he's doing what he thinks is best for the county, best for him. Takes a little bit on the side, sure. Now, I love this scene right here. So they're driving down the highway. The cops have this, look at this high-tech camera they're holding here.
Yeah, I know. Look at that.
So the cops are holding this camera. This is 1973 too. I love how this is 50 years ago. They have a camera where they're tracking a car coming down the road, but is it taking the speed? Is it taking the speed, or they're trying to look for whiskey? They're wondering, does this guy have whiskey in the car? See, look, it's a camera VC 1105 or
I can't read it.
I might have to put this on Reddit. I love doing this stuff on Reddit. What is this camera? What did it do? Did it mark speed? Or I love that kind of stuff. I love old technology in films. Is it really doing what it says it's doing in the film?
Yeah. Well, he says kill the tape. So they're recording him.
So here we go. So this is the first sequence here, or the biggest sequence, where Roy is running moonshine for real. Of course, he doesn't know that Gator is working for the feds. Officially, unofficially, he's not though. But then Gator does his whole thing here. He becomes the blocker to these cops, and that's the whole sequence. This movie has a lot of car scenes, but I'm not a big car chase guy. I don't get kicks out of it. Some people really are. Are you a car chase guy in films? Do you get excited by a car chase?
Yeah, I think so. I love a well executed car chase.
Do you feel the ones in this film are well executed?
Yeah,
I think so too. That's what I was going to say. I'm not a big car chase guy, but I find that these car chases, because it's pre-CGI. I know we always say that, blah, blah, but I can't help it when I watch these older films now, because all of this is real camera work inside the vehicle. There's no green screen. There's no balloon screen. There's any kind of wind is really from the wind. This shot's because the car's flying around, taking the hard turns, whatever it might be. It's just good old-fashioned speed and a bit of camera trickery, sure, but the idea is every turn right there. That's not a green screen.
No, it's not projection. That's a camera in the car.
On top of the hood or in the car. And watch the corners they take. These corners, and these are big hunking trunk of vehicles. All this stuff here is just timed. Cars driving past. Everything has to be timed. They're definitely look at this. I just love the turns they take and the dust that's in the air. And I don't know. I just get a kick out. Like none of it's CGI. No trickery. And this time here actually stressed me out. This is a train. Now, it's not moving very fast, but they're going by a train. They drive in front of it at some point, and it's a pretty close call.
This is a really weird place for a train track. It's right in the middle of a neighborhood or something.
Right here. Look at this.
Yeah.
There's two cars going in front of it. Anyways, it's not moving fast, but that's still...
Yeah.
And that's a real... It is a weird place for a train tracks. And it's... Anyways, yeah, that's my thoughts on the car chases throughout the film. They're very well done. I love seeing these big cars, and look, they're going down these neighborhoods. These are real people live here, and they're just like, hey, do you mind if we film some high speed chases down your road?
Just keep the kids out of the street.
They have to, yeah, that's just it. But speaking of which, there's a lot of scenes where there are kids just running around, milling around. They were just there. What are your thoughts on the kids?
They probably certainly used the locals.
Yeah.
I'm sure that where this was filmed, where I'm actually not even sure where this was.
Oh, where it was Arkansas. Arkansas.
I'm sure those people would be thrilled to be in a movie.
Sure.
So say, hey, we're shooting a movie here. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, so see, they're right there. There's kids on the side of the road when the car went flying down. That's what I mean. There's kids a little bit too close right there.
Yeah.
Like,
although
they're right there.
It looks like they're obviously just stopped and watching them shoot.
That's what I mean. They're not told to stand there. The director's not saying, hey, I want you to
oh.
Yeah, right here when they go over this hill. There's no way these cars are being used again on some of these scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the same car chase where he hits the barge. Okay. All right. Let's go more to the plot here. So upon discovering Gator's affiliation with the federal government, Sheriff Connors dispatches Big Bear to apprehend him. Narrowly escaping with his life, Gator seeks refuge. Okay, we're going to talk about that. So he escapes this attempt on his life, and he goes to Sister Linda's home for the unwed mothers. What were your thoughts on that scene? Before we get to that scene, let's go to the... I know we're skipping around here, little folks, but we can't do 2 hours on this movie. But so, what do you think of the way it was shot? Was really interesting. I'm just trying to find it. Sorry, where is it? It was that nighttime shot. It was right here. This sequence shot almost at dusk at night. It gave that. They're using natural light, so it's odd because I can't tell if they want it to be dark or if it is light out and it just happens to be getting dark. But this whole it's hard to make out. This is where Dude gets killed. So Dude gets killed by Big Bear and his crony cops, and they have a hand-to-hand fight. Gator almost gets away from this, but he's not killed in this moment. He's just apprehended. But what do you think of this nighttime sort of shooting? Do you think it's intentional, or they just didn't have the lighting for it?
This might have been shot day for night, where they shoot it during the day, but they process it in a way that it appears much darker because it's supposed to be nighttime. It seems that may be what they're going for here, but they're deep in the woods too, so there's not a lot of sunlight getting through. But we're supposed to believe it's nighttime here.
Okay. So this is the kind of the final act of the film. Bert, everything catches up to Bert Gator. The cops have him. Roy has taken off to leave him and his girlfriend Lou to the cronies. Roy's run away for another day. Dude has been killed. There's a quick little funeral that we do see later where a Dude has a funeral, and the sheriff goes there to the funeral to offer his condolences, and his widowed wife says, "Screw you," to the sheriff. Now, this sequence here, who he looks like? Let me go back just a bit. Bert looks like Harrison Ford here. It threw me off at first. This shadowing and lighting when he's drinking at the bar now, or where he's being held captive. So his face has been cut up during this fight. He's got a big scar on his face. So he's been cut up during this altercation. Yes. He's now in the captivity of these guys. He's drinking whiskey. Looks like Harrison there, doesn't he?
Yeah, with the shadows and everything, he does. That's a dead ringer right there.
Yeah, it's weird. It looks like Harrison Ford. But this is pre-Harrison Ford stardom. This is Bert's day, not Harrison's.
Yes.
So he's in handcuffs and he's drinking whiskey. Moonshine. And so this is rape scene attempt number 3 coming up. So he's held by Big Bear, and the sheriff is on the way, and Gator is trying to assess, how do I get out of the situation? He noted a shotgun on the table, but he's got too many guys on him. So he figures out a way to get the attention off of him for a moment. So he's got 3 cops with Lou and himself. And it's a really clever little scene because what he does, and I'll get to when he gets to it, he actually starts to describe that Lou was about to be taken upstairs to be raped by one of the cops. And the Big Bear is, no, it's not now. Don't do that now. And so she goes back to sit down. And now there's the 3 cops in there with Big Bear. And she sits down, and Gator sees the shotgun. So now he divides up a little story here, and he puts Lou in danger with the story. And we'll play that out here. So this is Big Bear talking to Gator.
I'm gonna get so goddamn drunk, I ain't gonna know what's happening when you take me out there on that lake, you feel me?
So that was
more fun than we are, ain't you?
So I love that. So Gator says, "I'm going to get so drunk that when you drown me, I won't even know what's happening," type thing. Yeah. So he's telling them, I'm dead. I'm a dead man. And then Big Bear says, "You're going to have more fun than we are." And that's actually a well-written line. The idea that you're going to have more fun than we are killing you because you're going to be so drunk. And I thought that was a well-written line.
What your big butt I am. You know what? You're a good old boy.
That's Big Bear talking.
Yep.
Fine shame. You got to be a sneaking, lying, behind the back, yellow, chicken thieving, stool pigeon. Well,
so that's Big Bear saying, you're a good guy, but it sucks that you're a stool pigeon. You're a snitch. So now she's saying she's got a tattoo. So he's talking about how Lou has a tattoo, which I thought this was odd because this is 1973. I guess did a lot of girls back in the 70s and before not have tattoos, really? Was that not a thing there, Jared? Or
I have no idea. Obviously, this is something that piques their interest.
Exactly.
They're like, whoa, what's this, a lady with a tattoo?
Exactly, because if this was 2023, this scene was written, people would be like, wow.
But yeah, now women are more tatted up than guys are these days.
It'd be more like, do you know what? Her stomach has no tattoos. Oh, really?
It's whoa. That's interesting.
But here we have, folks, he's telling the cops and Big Bear that Lou has a tattoo.
Tattoo?
They're really intrigued by this.
What? I said she's got a tattoo on her belly. You know what, American flag.
You know what else?
What?
Two eagles fighting snake.
Balarkey.
Yeah.
Oh, dang, I've seen it.
I didn't know if this was the movie but you're saying there was like attempted rape. We have some gunshot wounds on people, a scarred up face, but the language is oddly filtered. Was there not a lot of cursing in films in the 70s?
I don't
early
know.
70s?
It's weird. And obviously you can hear the sound quality of this movie that most of this is ADR.
Lou, the actress that plays Lou, the whole movie is ADR on her. What do you
Yes.
Okay.
You're right. And maybe some of this dialogue was changed in post to remove a lot of curse words because they are saying stuff like malarkey and
not malarkey, balarkey.
But there's also a lot of times in this movie where they're saying stuff like crap and butt instead of ass, and it all sounds like maybe they were trying for a PG rating. And maybe back then, of course, the language is what would have pushed it over the top, not necessarily all the dark stuff involving potential rape and violence and stuff like that.
So it's funny they censor the language, but look at these three guys on top of her.
Look, that's in a rated PG movie.
They're not just trying to see her tattoo, but the way they assault her to see the tattoo, it's creepy. How they're all
because they're trying to rip her. And see, look, when that guy was shot, you just see him fall through a window. You don't see.
There's a little bit of blood later, but yeah. So two cops are killed. One was killed by. So yeah, we should say. So Big Bear was hit in the head with a shotgun.
Yes.
And then another cop was killed with a shotgun, and then another cop shot the cop when Bert and the cop were fighting.
Yes.
And then Bert smashes a glass jar or something over the guy's head. See, there's blood on the floor there.
And it's worth noting that when Gator gets shot, it's that very 1970s like ketchup, like bright orange ketchup looking blood.
Why? I don't understand why they couldn't get the blood right back.
It's like that throughout movies in the 60s and 70s of this era.
It looks like
it looks like paint. Yeah.
It probably is paint. I'm not
it probably is.
He's shot in the arm. Lou's driving the car. She's driving the LTD out. And the next scene is this weird. We are given a shock to this scenario. So this house, run by some sort of religious nun type figure, is a bunch of horny girls who are unwed mothers. These are old women who've been knocked up who have kept their babies. That's what this place is. Am I getting that right?
Yep, 100%.
Okay. But every single girl is slippering on the floor. Excited.
They're all. It's just remember in what was it, Heat or Malone, where the 15-year-old or the 16-year-old girl was trying to bed Bert.
Yeah. That was Malone. I believe that was Malone.
It was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Bert can't help himself.
Bert,
Bert
exudes sensuality.
Right. But this home is for unwed mothers. We got 12-year-olds here.
It's pretty crazy.
But Lou used to be here. Bert is confused about where he is, but he likes the idea of it later on. But this is where people have their babies. This is where people go to have their baby. So when they get knocked up, you remember this happened back in the day when a girl would get knocked up, they'd be sent to some sort of summer camp and they'd have their baby come back skinny again. Oh yeah. Lou was just at a work retreat for 6 months. That's what this is. Why are all these girls knocked up? How?
Because they all had sex, Ryan.
Oh, I love it. The shame of being knocked up.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this line here.
Whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
All right. Bet that ain't as good as Shaky Goody.
So one of the girls comes up to talk to Bert, who's resting in bed.
McCluskey? Jenny, you come up here this minute and feed that baby. Come on, right now. Okay. Carol Kay, you come up here too. What happened to you?
I was trying to save these two buddies of mine from getting knocked up by a homosexual.
Thanks God.
So he's all beaten to crap. So she asked this one of these baby gals what happened to you. So he says, I got into a fight because I saved my two friends who are being raped another raping by a homosexual. So I love how this brute of a homosexual, bless his
really
heart, he's
messed
trying
him
to not just sexually assault one guy, but two guys at the same time. And Bert took care of this guy. But this guy must have been a hulking of a homosexual to be able to take on two men himself, sexually assault two men at once. And then Bert comes in to intervene this assault and gets his head smashed in. I would like to see this guy. But talk about a 70s line, eh? Stuff you just would not write today. You just, yeah.
Of course. But it's a time capsule.
It is a time capsule. And I'm so glad we have these movies to remind us. So the cops are at the funeral of Dude. We talked about that already.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to find. Okay, so this is the scene where this girl talks about why Buddy was killed, his brother. And this is actually legit scene here. Let's
killed. I was reading before.
So she's talking about his brother.
School afterwards. There was nothing we could do.
Yeah, but why? Why'd it happen? I mean, what did Donnie do?
Nothing. I mean, nothing bad. We was all just protesting.
Protesting? What the hell's he got to protest about in Bogan County? The protests up north, up in New York, and places like that.
That's the beauty of it. Don't you see? It was his idea. The worst county in the whole state to hold the demonstration.
Okay. So Donnie was killed because he was anti-war.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm catching there?
Yeah, and it's obvious that
this is an anti-hippie.
Throughout this movie, they got no use for these hippies.
Yeah.
And even you hear Gator here. Why would my brother do something stupid like that? It's a very actually realistic portrayal. You have these people in this rural environment who they would see they probably have all very conservative leanings here. There's church everywhere. And in this part of the country, even today, it's people from small towns like this in the South, they don't have much use for that stuff.
Yeah, so remember, this film was written by a communist who who joined the Communist Party, who supplied weapons to the IRA, and also killed a man in his home who apparently was an intruder. So is this legit an anti-war film, or is it an anti-hippie film, or is it trying to just showcase the culture at the time?
I don't think it's making a real statement one way or the other. I do think it's trying to use those things as these things are driving the plot along. I don't think they're trying to make a statement, hey, hippies suck or anything like that.
Because Donnie was killed for being a hippie, but how? Okay, so my question is, why did that upset the sheriff enough? So basically Donnie held the demonstration in whatever county that he's sheriff in.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the beginning of the film, you can see that Donnie actually does have long hair. You don't catch it at first.
Sure.
He actually has long hair, which of course we know long hair back in the day. You're a hippie, pot smoking hippie, Woodstock, peace, love, all that good stuff. That was a real thing that was happening back then. The Vietnam War was still on at this time in 1973 in real life. So this was filmed during the Vietnam War. So why did the sheriff feel the need to kill Donnie? It's never.
Well, maybe if he led, I get the impression that Ned Beatty's character, he doesn't suffer fools like this. He doesn't want this. He probably doesn't. He doesn't want hippies coming down and making trouble in his little slice of paradise down there. And Ned Beatty's character has a way of dealing with people like that, and that's killing them. Can I also say that when Gator was talking to that blonde girl, I thought for sure she was going to say something like, "I'm carrying his baby."
Oh,
so she would have been carrying Gator's nephew. Hey, I've got his, but that's not a place they went. But I thought it wouldn't have surprised me if that had happened.
She probably carried Gator's baby later.
We'll have to see in the sequel.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And the sequel, again, folks, is called Gator.
3 years later, Gator came back.
And it was actually the directorial debut of Burt Reynolds.
He directed that?
Yes.
Dude, we have to talk about that. It's too much. There's too much meat on the bone.
Too much.
I mean, come on. That's crazy.
So I folks, I know we're at the end of the film here and the end of our podcast, and I hope I get what we've done with all of our reviews. We never really give away too much. I want people to watch this film. It's free on Tubi. So
it's also on Amazon Prime.
Oh,
if you're a member of Prime, that's where I watched it.
Oh, okay. I watched it on Tubi. My apologies, but I have an ad blocker, so I don't get ads on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's nice if you have an ad blocker, and because it goes through a browser on your computer. When you watch Tubi on your computer, you'll see the ad symbol come up, but then it goes away. Yeah. So now the sheriff and his crony are chasing. Basically, the film just ends with a car chase. Another great stunt work. We've already talked about it. We don't have to keep saying over and over again how good the stunt work and the car driving is in this film. But that's actually some of the criticism this film did face when it came out. Was people thought it was too much stunt work, which is odd because I would say this is a action drama or drama action.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if the marketing didn't make it seem that way, if they thought it'd be more like a Deliverance type film. But even though Deliverance, quote unquote, has action sequences in it, this is definitely a car and action film. And people from the South definitely were this target audience would enjoy this kind of hooligan activity. I wonder how much real life chases happen back in the South. Do we know if this is a real thing that kind of happens like this?
Where I grew up, we didn't see this a whole lot. Of course, I grew up in a city, so this was what happens in the rural areas. Who can say? Maybe there was cop cars chasing moonshiners around everywhere. God, Ned Beatty.
He's just great in this film. I know we haven't done a lot of his dialogue, and I apologize. A better podcast would have stuff ready, but I just want to get to this one part. Him and his buddy cop they crash their car, and Ned gets out of the car, and the other cop car driven by another cop comes up to him and says, "Hey, are you okay?" And I just love his response, and he does a great job playing. He's just a real dick in this film, but does a great job of it. So he gets out of his car, and the other cop comes up and says this.
You okay? You see me walking, don't you?
You see me walking, don't you?
I just love that. It's great. This is some great writing. There's some great lines in this film, some great dialogue, great acting by Ned. And Burt does not dialogue. This is a great film for Burt.
No, he hasn't become really Burt Reynolds yet. Oh, look at that. That's straight out of Dukes of Hazzard.
So the film ends with just like it began. It began with the drowning of the two innocents, hippies. They were drowned.
They were drowned,
as Paulie would say. And now the sheriff is chasing after. Now he thinks this is odd. So he knows that. Okay, so he knows that Gator has gone over this ledge. So he knows that Gator has gone over the ledge and has disappeared on the ledge. Why the sheriff feels the need to go over that same ledge at full speed, I'm not sure, but that's what the sheriff does. Gator goes over the ledge quite casually. We see him go over it casually. But for some reason, I guess maybe the sheriff thinks he has to catch up. That's the only thing I think of. So he goes over the ledge full throttle because he knows his cars never break when they.
Yeah, exactly.
So he goes over this blind ledge blindly at full throttle. And folks, we'll play it out. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see it and we'll describe what happens. But he goes over full throttle and watch this sequence here of him going over Burt. So this is amazing. So it hits the water. Yeah,
I like the fact that's Burt Reynolds standing there as a car jumps over him.
That's brutal.
That's cool.
Actually, it speaks to a couple things I was thinking about when we were watching this film. Was these stunts, because there's no CGI and it's the 70s. I don't know if every safety measure was kept in this film.
It's when you're dealing with cars and stunts like this, who knows? There was a stuntman who died on the set of Dukes of Hazzard.
Really?
Yeah. After it was a stunt gone wrong. There was only one death, but out of all those episodes, you think it would be more.
What was it from? What was the?
I can't remember specifically, but John Schneider, he played Bo.
Yes, of course.
He has a YouTube channel where he talks about the accident in detail.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was something like this. I'm just wondering if there was a there was a driver in that car, if that was a dummy that went over.
Yeah, good question. Because they can put something on the gas pedal or whatever and lock the steering wheel and have it go full throttle. Yeah.
Here's something else I thought of too. In the movie, Ned Beatty, the sheriff, you think he'd have a lay of the land and know where he is.
Yeah, I know. There's a big body of water right there.
He must think, hey, I'm driving right towards that lake there. What's going to happen?
Yeah, but it's odd. Now watch him sing. Again, they have Ned Beatty in the car, and I know it's filmed very quickly, but that's real lake water pouring in on the car. So I don't know if the car is being held by something behind, because I'm stressed out for the actor. Check this out. Watch the water pour in on Ned in real life. We'll see it come up here. You'll see there's a shot, of course, of Ned in the car, the actor Ned Beatty in the car, and look right there. That's water pouring in. You can see the actor flailing a little bit. I know it's acting, but now the back end of the car is out of shot. But I wonder how they did that. Did they roll it in really quickly, and did they pull it back out? I'm just curious how they did.
That might have been on some sort of tow cable where they just pulled him out. But I got to say, he doesn't appear. He doesn't have his seatbelt on. I don't know why he's trapped. I know the water coming in. He's got the windows down. It seems to me he didn't really make a big guy like that probably wouldn't be able to fit out the window. And I know it's really hard to open your car door when it's underwater, apparently, because of the water pressure. But I don't know. It seems he just gave up a little too easy.
Just wait one sec, my dog again.
Sure.
My little studio, and she clambers to come in and clambers to come out because she hears Daddy talking.
I get it.
Okay,
Mine's
so
sleep.
Oh, you're lucky. Okay, the movie ends. At the end of the movie, we see this funeral procession, and this is a huge.
It's a big deal.
Did JFK get shot? What are we watching here? This sheriff was.
They had
loved.
the whole town. They probably just said, "Hey, come on out, be in a movie. We'll feed you. We'll make a big day of it, and you'll be in a movie."
But within the film is what I'm getting at. Look at these.
See, those people are real people. There's just
they're real, all right. Real scary.
Yeah, those people live there.
Yeah, it's true. Now, so what I find interesting, this was cool about the film, is that the public, the outside of the character, but the public view this man, the sheriff, as a real hero. They think this real hero has died in some car chase and whatever the newspaper said at the time, sheriff killed in car chase. But what I don't understand is, okay, anyways, so Bert's free. He didn't get enough evidence for FBI, but the guy is dead, so they're like, whatever, he's dead.
Okay, let it go.
Is an old rusty bell, and it rings.
So there's right there, in beloved memory, Sheriff Connors.
Yep.
So let's hear the dialogue that he has with that Gator has. So Gator's with Lou. He's wearing I love the shirt he's wearing, and he's casually there at the funeral procession, just leaned up against a post, casual. Yeah, I killed that guy. That was me. It's
way down
the good they die young.
So he says, the good, they die young. Now, he's at Sheriff Connor's funeral, which he's neither good nor young.
Yeah.
His brother was young and good, but he's saying it for the sheriff. It's an odd statement to make at the sheriff's funeral.
Maybe he's talking about his brother.
You think he might be talking about his brother?
Yeah, because this is... And then, boom, credits. What?
Yeah. And I don't think Lou, as we see him walking away with Bert here, I don't think she's in the sequel, the actress or the character.
Oh.
Yeah, man. He's got a different woman. Yeah.
Dang.
And I love the movie poster scene, or the movie poster for this film is him holding a shotgun, which I always love that. He's holding. Now he does use the shotgun in the film. So to the film's credit, a shotgun is used in the film by Bert. But I just love have you seen the one that he's holding the shotgun in?
Yes.
I love it when these old time movie posters have sort of sequences or looks to it that aren't quite. We just did a film review on our channel called The Breaker with Chuck Norris, and we mentioned on that one that Chuck's movie poster for that film was him holding a gun or something. He didn't use a gun in the whole film, but on the movie poster, he's holding a shotgun too. He didn't use one in the whole film.
Back then, posters, that's how they got butts in the seats, really.
Yeah.
I like that they present like a heightened version of what you're about to see.
Big discussion today. I know it's hard. This is partly why when I do my other film reviews, the Rock and Rambo, I do break them up into many segments because I don't know how. I feel like I suck at the one episode reviews because there's so much to talk about.
This podcast is as long as the movie now.
Yes, yeah, that's true. I know. I'll edit a little bit, but yeah, more or less, it will be the same length as the movie, and that's what I mean. And I just want to say to our listeners who make it through, thank you so much. And I just want to say, I'm not good at it. I'm still learning how to do. I try to do with some notes today and stuff, but because when I do the Rock and Rambo films, you've listened to them. I break them down in chronological order, scene by scene, and we talk about what's going on, the events that are. It's easier, and we'll share our thoughts on whatever it is. But they're one movie will be anywhere from 12 to 20 episodes for a movie because there's so much to go through. So I know I can't do a Burt podcast. What I'm trying to say is I'm not going to do Burt's filmography that same way. So it's a lot to talk about, but also, we can't get through everything is all I'm saying. Yeah.
Ryan, we're both the same age. We're young. We've got all the time in the world to get to Burt's filmography.
I guess that's the sacrifice is we can't break it down multiple episodes per film, but we'll get to every film. So that's the payoff is we're going to get to every film, even Rent-A-Cop.
Oh man. Rent-A-Cop. Goodness gracious.
Isn't that a comedy action film?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there you go.
From his dark ages. I like this. I got to say.
Oh yeah. What are your thoughts on the film overall? Did you enjoy this experience?
I did. This has been my favorite Burt Reynolds movie that we've talked about.
Oh, wow.
Because of reasons that we have talked about during this episode, that link to the Duke boys and the car chases. And I like this Burt who's on the cusp of superstardom and not going down the hill on the other side. He seems hungry. He's got a lot of charisma. He's not just phoning it in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a fan of movies of this period in general, even with the ketchup, paint, blood, and stuff like that. No, overall, I had not seen this movie before sitting down to watch it for this podcast.
No,
but I greatly enjoyed it, and I do want to watch Gator now, and we should sometime in the near future.
It'll be near future, yes. So
let's talk about Gator.
Let's say before American Thanksgiving. That'll be our goal.
Okay, good. That's perfect.
Okay. Even not earlier. I agree. I love doing these standalone episodes of the Burt films, and I've done Chuck Norris films with Jack, who does the Drunk Bond podcast. So you two are my kind of guys where I've got two guys right now where one guy's focused on Chuck, and he's kind of like you. I guess I'm the Chuck guy. So you're the Burt guy. I'm sorry. It didn't start off that way, but you're the Burt guy now.
That's all right. I'm happy to be the Burt guy.
Okay. Jared, once again, tell everyone where you're from, where they can find you.
I host a podcast with two buddies called The Hyperspace Podcasting in the 25th Century. We talk about a lot of old sci-fi. We talk about new sci-fi, just basically nerd stuff in general. And if that kind of stuff is your jam, then come check us out. The Hyperspace, it's 3 words, Podcasting in the 25th Century. We're on all the major podcasters and on YouTube. So come and give us a look if you feel like it.
Jared, you're a wonderful host, wonderful guy, more importantly, a good man.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Back at you, buddy.
Oh, thank you. So, Jared, as you have shared on your social media, you work in television, and you had the pleasure of working with Lionel Richie of late, which I enjoyed watching those clips online there of Lionel. How is he? How is Lionel? How's he doing?
I haven't talked to him since we shot that day, but he was fun. He was great. He was really laid back and down to earth, and it was a fun time getting to joke around with him. Yeah, if
How
you
old
want
is
to,
he now?
He's got to be in his 70s, I would imagine.
Yeah, he's been around forever.
Yeah,
so but how old is his face, though? I know, I'm sure.
Oh, dang!
Come on.
Sorry, Lionel. Hey, Lionel. Ryan said that, not me.
Yeah, he's listening. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, come at me. No, that's great. Look, no, he hasn't had any work on his face. He looks great. So,
of course not.
Yeah. So he sees. I love that. He's 74, by the way. Wow.
Okay.
74.
Yeah. Oh, he looks great for 74 for sure.
He's looking better than Burt. Okay.
Oh, yikes.
Jared, as always, a pleasure. We will be back. Next episode with me and Jared will be Gator, 1976's Gator, the directorial debut of Burt. I've got a feeling it's going to be a little bit sillier. That's my guess. That's my prediction. It's going to be a little bit less drama. I think it might be a little bit silly. That's my guess. I could be wrong. Well, don't look it up, though. I'm blind.
I'm going to sit down cold and watch Gator.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next Burt episode. You bet. All right. Yeah.